Have you ever stood before an ancient structure and wondered how the people of that time managed to build it? These structures were built on sheer cliffs, atop treacherous mountain peaks, or hidden deep within remote areas that remain difficult to access even today. Throughout China, there are still ancient wonders that amaze engineers, historians, and tourists alike with their boldness and precision. These are not merely relics of the past, but creations that defy logic, time, and even what we once thought ancient humans were capable of. Let's explore the ancient wonders of China, where history leaves more questions than answers. If you enjoy unsolved mysteries, visit our channel for more fascinating videos. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. 1. Daizu's stone carving. Walking among the cliffs of Dazhu, one feels as if they are leaving the ordinary world behind and entering a world where the mountains tell their own stories through each statue and relief. This complex is carved directly into the sandstone mountains of Chongqing, transforming natural cliffs into an entire system of outdoor religious art. UNESCO recognizes this heritage site as comprising 5 large rock carving clusters, mostly created between the 9th and 13th centuries, with over 50,000 statues and carvings. Most incredible is that Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism all appear within a single system of imagery, forming a religious map of medieval Chinese society. The stones here are not only for worship, but also to teach people how to live through themes of hell, karma, filial piety, salvation, and explanatory inscriptions carved directly into the rock walls. 2. Mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. If an emperor could take his entire empire underground, then the Mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang is the most terrifying ambition of ancient China. This is not a single tomb, but an entire complex of mausoleums spanning approximately 20 square miles, like an underground empire. Construction began in 246 BC, before Qin Shi Huang had unified China, suggesting he had prepared for his death early on. The main burial mound, now approximately 168 feet high, resembles a green, tree-covered hill, but beneath it lies the most mysterious aspect of Chinese archaeology. Remarkably, the central burial chamber remains largely unexcavated, while the famous terracotta army may only be the outermost layer of a much larger mystery. Ancient texts also record that within the tomb there were rivers and seas of mercury, along with an entire starry sky, making it seem more like an attempt to recreate the universe for a deceased emperor than a conventional burial place. 3. Longmen Grottos. Known as the Dragon Gate of Buddhism, the Longmen Grottos open between 2 riverside cliffs, where the mountain is carved out, so that thousands of stone Buddha statues can look down upon the water. Along a cliff face, approximately 1 kilometer long, the ancients carved more than 2,300 caves and shrines, then covered them with nearly 110,000 stone statues. Construction began in 493 during the Northern Wei dynasty and reached its peak during the Tang dynasty, when the Buddha statues took on a soft, balanced form, strongly reflecting the style of Chinese imperial architecture. What is most awe-inspiring is the extreme scale. The largest statue is about 56 feet tall, nearly the size of a 5-story building, while the smallest is less than 2 centimeters tall. Approximately 2,800 stone tablets and inscriptions have transformed Longmen into a stone library, preserving the names of donors, calligraphy, beliefs, and social traces of various periods. Incredibly, this otherwise silent limestone has preserved nearly 110,000 faces for over 1,500 years, turning the mountain into a living memory of Buddhism, imperial power, and Chinese art. 4. Family education. If the Great Wall of China is the stone backbone of an empire, then Jiayuguan is the final lock at the edge of the desert. Located at the narrowest point of the Hexi Corridor, its mountains, sand, and arid landscape force people, goods, and troops to pass through an easily controllable pass. Construction began in 1372 during the Ming Dynasty and was reinforced over generations, transforming a border point into a massive military fortress. Incredibly, amidst the open landscape, a multi-layered defensive machine had sprung up, complete with inner and outer walls, moats, watchtowers, rammed earth walls, and patrol roads. From afar, Jiayuguan blends into the yellow-brown desert, but the sense of a final gateway is what makes it the boundary between order, the trade routes, and the uncertain lands beyond. 5. The Great Wall of China. Welcome to the Great Wall of China, a vast defensive network stretching across northern China, comprising walls, moats, ramparts, watchtowers, and fortresses. Its scale is almost unimaginable, with a total length estimated at approximately 21,196 kilometers, when including all sections of walls and related structures from various periods. This structure was built and expanded over more than 2,000 years, from approximately the 3rd century BC to the 17th century, spanning numerous dynasties and various military strategies. The Great Wall of China is not simply a wall built on flat ground. It utilizes the terrain itself as a weapon, winding along mountains, slopes, valleys, and arid regions to transform nature into a defensive line. From afar, the wall resembled a stone dragon crawling along the mountain peaks, sometimes shrouded in mist, sometimes appearing as a giant, winding line cutting across northern China. Most haunting is the question behind it. What were people afraid of then, and how strong did a society need to be to extend a defense system over 21,000 kilometers across half the continent? 6. Yonggang Stone Caves. In Shanxi, a gray-yellow sandstone cliff has been carved into a dense Buddhist world, as if the entire mountain were opening 1,000 eyes, looking down upon humanity. The Yungang Caves contain 252 caves and shrines, along with approximately 51,000 statues, making it one of the largest Buddhist sculpture complexes in ancient China. The incredible aspect lies in the architecture carved into the mountain itself. Instead of building temples on the surface, the ancients carved directly into the rock to create the caves, statues, ceilings, columns, and walls. The structures were primarily built between the mid-5th and early 6th centuries, when the Northern Wei dynasty used Buddhism to strengthen royal beliefs, order, and power. On the same cliff face, South Asian, Central Asian, and Chinese art blend together, creating Buddha faces that are both familiar and unfamiliar. However, this very soft sandstone makes this wonder fragile, as dry winds, dust, rain, pollution, and humidity are constantly eroding these works, which are over 1,500 years old. 7. Fujian Tulo, Houses and Land. Known as the Hakka earthen fortresses, the Fujian Tulo are a style of architecture that is both rustic and awe-inspiring amidst the mountains and forests of Fujian. UNESCO recognizes this system as comprising 46 structures built from the 15th to the 20th centuries, spread over approximately 120 kilometers. Incredibly, the ancient people used round earth, bamboo, wood, pebbles, sand, terrain, lime to construct sturdy, multi-story buildings like fortresses amidst the humid mountain climate. The outer walls could be up to 1.5 meters thick and about 18 meters high, with only one main gate and windows on the upper floors for added defense. Each earthen building could house up to 800 people of the same clan, functioning as a self-contained village with living quarters, storage areas, wells, communal courtyards, and ceremonial spaces. Seen from above, they resemble ancient flying saucers nestled amidst rice paddies, tea hills, and bamboo forests. Outwardly enclosed and cold like fortresses, but inside overflowing with light, wood, and generations of family life. 8. Leshan Giant Buddha. Standing approximately 71 meters tall, the Leshan Buddha statue makes people feel small beneath the colossal seated Buddha's feet, carved directly into the mountainside. Construction began in 713 and was completed in 803, a process spanning nearly 90 years, initiated by the monk Hai Tong. Ancient people believed this giant statue could calm the raging waters, a place once a threat to boats and riverside inhabitants. Incredibly, the statue wasn't erected on the ground, but rather the head, shoulders, arms, torso, and legs of the Buddha were unleashed directly from within the cliff face. Inside the statue, there's even a hidden drainage system, with channels running through the hair, collar, chest, and behind the ears to reduce rainwater seepage into the sandstone. With shoulders nearly 28 meters wide and fingers approximately 8 meters long, Leshan makes the saying "the mountain is the Buddha is the mountain," a tangible feeling for anyone standing at its base. 9. Morghal Caves. In the arid Gobi Desert, Morghal stands like a giant beehive of rocks, concealing a piece of ancient Asia. Beginning in 366, Buddhist monks carved the first caves into the cliffs, transforming this barren land into a pilgrimage center that has existed for over 1,600 years. UNESCO recognizes 492 preserved caves here, containing approximately 45,000 square meters of murals and over 2,000 painted statues. Most incredible is that while the exterior is bare rock and desert sun, the interior walls are covered with images of Buddha, bodhisattvas, angels, myths, and religious stories. Morghal was once a major meeting point on the Silk Road, where merchants, monks, pilgrims, and various cultures left their mark through paintings, statues, writing, and rituals. In 1900, a sealed room was discovered containing over 50,000 manuscripts and artifacts, making Mogao a living testament to an ancient Asia once connected across the desert. 10. Bindiu, ancient citadel. How can an ancient city retain its city walls, streets, courtyard houses, and commercial history almost intact for hundreds of years? Pingyao is an ancient Han Chinese city in Shanxi, where the urban layout of the Ming and Qing dynasties is still clearly visible through its city walls, streets, houses, shops, and temples. Incredibly, an entire city, spanning approximately 2.25 square kilometers, remains enclosed within its walls, rather than just a few scattered ruins. The wall, about 6 kilometers long and 12 meters high, with 6 gates, 72 watchtowers, and over 3,000 loopholes, transformed the old town into a giant stone box. Within those defensive walls, Pingyao was once a major financial center during the Ming and Qing dynasties, where banks facilitated money transfers, allowing merchants to send funds over long distances without needing to carry silver ingots. Seen from above, the grey tiled roofs, narrow alleys, courtyards, and bustling streets nestled within the ancient walls make Pingyao appear as a city preserved by history before it vanished. 11. The Terracotta Army. The Terracotta Army is considered an immortal army lying beneath the ground of Xi'an, where thousands of clay warriors still guard the eternal slumber of the first emperor. Near the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, approximately 8,000 soldiers, horses, and chariots were buried deep underground to protect his power after his death. Incredibly, this wasn't just a few symbolic tomb statues, but a complete underground military system with infantry, archers, chariots, horses, and generals. Local farmers digging a well inadvertently uncovered one of the most sensational archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Each warrior has a different face, hairstyle, armor, mustache, and posture, making this terracotta army look like real people frozen in time. Many of the statues were once brightly colored, but the ancient paint quickly peeled and faded upon exposure to air, leaving a haunting question. How much fear of death must an emperor have needed an entire army standing guard in the shadows for over 2,000 years? If you enjoyed the story of Miyamoto Musashi, please visit our channel for more fascinating videos about other mysterious stories. 12. Pham Tin Song. Imagine climbing Mount Pham Tin amidst thick fog, and suddenly seeing two small temples appear atop the rocky mountain, seemingly suspended in midair. They aren't situated on a flat surface, but cling to two vertical rock formations, connected by a narrow bridge between the clouds and the abyss. Incredibly, the ancients built a place of worship in a location that was almost impossible to construct, transforming a treacherous rocky mountain peak into a Buddhist pilgrimage site. Pham Tin Son is closely associated with the Maitreya Buddha belief, so these temples are not only precarious structures, but also symbols of hope, compassion, and a serene world. As the clouds drift beneath your feet, you will understand why a cliff seemingly only fit for the wind could become a place where people seek faith. 13. Huashan Wooden Plank Road. If there were a path that could transform courage into a condition for progress, the wooden plank road on Mount Huashan would be China's most terrifying challenge. Situated on one of China's 5 sacred mountains, this wooden plank road was not created for entertainment, but rather stems from the spirit of Taoism and the journey of high-altitude spiritual cultivation. Incredibly, the ancients didn't build a walkway on the ground, but instead attached wooden planks, anchors, and iron chains directly to a sheer cliff face. The plank walkway is about 110 meters long, at an altitude of around 2,160 meters, with a chasm below that may be over 640 meters deep. From a distance, it looks like nothing more than a thin strip of wood clinging to the mountain, so small, it's hard to believe that humans could actually walk across it amidst clouds, rocks, and abysses. The moment you step onto the plank, the ground seems to vanish, and the only things holding you back are the iron chains, the safety harness, your breath, and your own composure. 14. Xuankong Temple. Would you dare to step into a wooden temple suspended precariously on a cliff, with an empty space beneath the floor and a sheer rock face directly in front? Welcome to Hanging Monastery, a structure approximately 50 to 75 meters high, making its halls and corridors appear to float amidst mountains, wind, and abysses. Recorded to have begun in 491 AD, this cliff-hanging structure has survived over 1,500 years through wind, snow, rain, sun, and even minor earthquakes. The most incredible aspect lies in its load-bearing structure, as the temple does not stand on a wide foundation, but is supported by wooden beams driven deep into the cliff face. In the space suspended between the rocks and the abyss, Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism coexist, making each step along the narrow corridor feel both sacred and a challenge to gravity. 15. Jiaohe, ancient citadel. Once a bustling city on the ancient Silk Road, Jiaohe today is nothing but dry land, crumbling walls, and the silence of the desert. Incredibly, the ancients practically dug the entire city deep into the ground, creating streets, residential areas, city walls, and other structures directly from the Earth's surface. The approximately 30-meter high cliffs surrounding the plateau formed a natural wall, allowing Jiaohe to defend itself with deep ravines instead of fortified structures. Viewed from above, the city, about 1,650 meters long and 300 meters wide, at its widest point, resembled an earthen labyrinth of streets, crumbling walls, and ancient foundations. Jiaohe's haunting power lies in the feeling that a once vibrant city, teeming with commerce, military activity, and daily life, has become a silent fossil under the desert sun. 16. Xi'an Ancient City. In the heart of modern Xi'an, the city walls still surround the old town like a giant, living defensive framework that has endured through time. Remarkably, the approximately 13.7 kilometer long wall remains almost completely intact, rather than having only a few remnants left. The wall, approximately 12 meters high and 12 to 14 meters wide at the top, is wide enough for visitors today to walk or cycle along the former patrol route. Its striking appearance today was strongly shaped between 1370 and 1378 during the Ming Dynasty, but it still stands in memory of Chang'an during the Sui and Tang dynasties. The most striking sight is the contrast of time, with ancient bricks, watchtowers, moats, lanterns, and modern high-rise buildings all appearing within a single view. 17. Yingsu Site. Once the center of power of the Shang dynasty, Yin ruins today consists only of its foundations, excavation pits, and ancient inscriptions that stand directly against history. This capital existed from approximately 1300 to 1046 BC, and was the first Chinese capital directly proven through oracle bone inscriptions and archaeology. The most significant difference is that Yinshu has a voice from its own era, through divinatory bone fragments, recording harvests, wars, diseases, sacrifices, and the king's court affairs. Incredibly, this flat, low-lying land once concealed earthen palaces, workshops, chariots, ceremonial bronze artifacts, royal tombs, and sacrificial pits. 18. Gaochang, ancient city. Gaochang emerged as an oasis city, thriving on water, trade, and the Silk Road amidst the hot, dry desert of Turpan. Its scale was astonishing, with the ruins spanning approximately 2 million square meters, enough for a person standing in the middle to see only a desolate city stretching out under the sun. Incredibly, rammed earth and mud bricks, seemingly fragile materials, once formed city walls, gates, residential areas, and religious structures that lasted for over 1,400 years. Gaochang even modeled itself after the layout of Chang'an during the Tang dynasty, showing a remote city in the desert that still embodied the image of a center of Chinese power. 19. Zhuangbi Ancient Castle. Zhuangbi is known as an underground fortress beneath an ancient village in Shanxi, where old houses, earthen walls, and tunnels create a chilling mystery. Above ground, it looks like a walled village with gates, stone paths, houses, and temples clustered together. Incredibly, beneath that facade of ordinary life lay a multi-layered military tunnel system used for concealing troops, retreating, ambushing, and holding out during sieges. The terrain made Trongbich easy to defend and difficult to breach, with walls approximately 10 meters high, deep ravines surrounding it on 3 sides, and the remaining side nestled against the mountain. What haunted Truongbich was the thought that beneath those peaceful houses and streets once lay a labyrinth of war, ready for the day of reckoning. 20. Jade Gate Pass. If Jiayuguan Pass is the key to the Great Wall, then Yumen Pass is the sandy gateway where ancient China began its journey onto the Silk Road. Located about 90 kilometers northwest of Dunhuang, it served as a checkpoint for the Han Dynasty to manage the route to the Western Territories. Fortified around 121 BC, this pass became a crucial link as China expanded its influence westward. The remaining ruins are almost square, approximately 25 x 27 meters and 10 meters high, demonstrating that Han Dynasty rammed earth construction techniques could withstand over 2,000 years in wind and sand. 21. The Hakka village has a surrounding wall. Far beyond the definition of an ordinary village, the Hakka walled villages appear as clan fortresses made of stone, earth, and wood, completely isolated from the outside world. They arose from the self-defense needs of migrating Hakka communities living in the mountainous regions of southern China, where land was scarce, conflict was frequent, and the threat of attack was ever present. Incredibly, ordinary materials like rammed earth, stone, bamboo, and wood could be used to create walls about 1 meter or more thick, strong enough to protect an entire community. From the outside, the village appeared almost completely enclosed, like a fortress, usually with only one main gate and very few windows on the ground floor to prevent outsiders from accessing the interior. Inside, it functions as a self-sufficient, self-protecting village, with houses, granaries, wells, communal courtyards, and ancestral shrines for the entire clan. Seen from above, these earthen walls nestle amidst rice paddies, tea hills, and bamboo forests, a reminder that fear can be transformed into architecture to protect people for generations. 22. Dujiangyan. If humans can tame a river without imprisoning it, then the Dujiangyan is one of the boldest ideas of ancient China. Built around 256 BC, this system continues to regulate the Minjiang River and irrigate the Chengdu Plain for over 2,250 years. Most remarkably, the Dujiangyan system controls water without a dam. Instead, it utilizes the terrain to allow the water to naturally divide, drain, and nourish the fields. The three core components of the system, the watershed, floodgates, and outlets, function like an ancient water machine, dividing the flow, draining floodwaters, removing sediment, and regulating water for irrigation. The structure is situated precisely at the transition point between the mountains and the plains, where the Minjiang River flows down from the highlands and can transform powerful floods into a source of life, if properly managed. UNESCO recognizes that this system currently irrigates approximately 668,000 hectares of agricultural land, demonstrating that ancient wisdom sometimes lies not in restraining nature, but in understanding how nature operates. 23. Dunhuang, ancient city. Drawing inspiration from Dunhuang's glorious past on the Silk Road, the ancient city of Dunhuang recreates the image of a border town amidst wind and sand. In reality, this is not an original, ancient city, but a film set built in 1987 to recreate the atmosphere of old Dunhuang. Located about 25 kilometers southwest of Dunhuang city center, it's close enough to tourist areas, but still retains the sense of isolation of an outpost in the Gobi Desert. The most captivating aspect is the surreal feeling, where the yellow earthen walls, large gates, curved wooden roofs, and desert ground make it look like a resurrected ancient fortress. Its design doesn't recreate any specific historical site, but rather a Silk Road-style town, complete with city gates, streets, and watchtowers. Although only built in 1987, Dunhuang Ancient City transforms memories into images, allowing viewers to visualize the merchants, envoys, soldiers, and caravans that once passed through Dunhuang. 24. Tamting Doi. Leaving behind familiar symbols of power, Sanxing Dui emerges as an echo of an ancient Shu civilization that history has almost forgotten. The site, covering approximately 6 square kilometers, with a central citadel of about 3.6 square kilometers, shows that it was once a well-planned ceremonial city. The most unbelievable aspect lies in its bizarre symbolic system, where bronze masks, with bulging eyes and large ears, towering human figures, sacred trees, golden scepters, ivory, and jade appear together. Two sacrificial pits, discovered in 1986, caused a sensation because they contained more than 6,000 valuable artifacts, revealing the image of a powerful Bronze Age center in southwestern China. New excavations since 2020 have brought the total number of artifacts in the 6 pits to nearly 13,000, proving that Sanxing Dui was a complete buried ritual system. The haunting power of this place lies in its silence. Lacking a clear writing system, modern humans can only decipher this lost civilization through the masks, bronze statues, and faces rising from the ground. 25. Ni Li Dao. Once a powerful city in the early days of Chinese civilization, Erlitou today remains only as a site of ruins, excavation pits, and unanswered questions. It is considered the earliest known, large-scale Bronze Age capital in East Asia. The site now spans approximately 3 square kilometers, large enough to indicate it was once a center of power, with a central area, communal living quarters, and a well-defined layout. Incredibly, much of Erlitou's power lies hidden underground, where earthen palaces, roads, noble tombs, bronze foundries, and ceremonial areas only gradually emerge after successive excavations. Erlitou is often considered a strong candidate for the capital of the Xia dynasty, but because there are no contemporary documents directly confirming this, it remains on the boundary between legend, archaeology, and history. With a turquoise dragon over 70 centimeters long, assembled from more than 2,000 small pieces, Early 2 shows that the origins of Chinese power were not always manifested through towering city walls, but sometimes through silent symbols buried deep underground. 26. Jiaozhou Stone Bridge. With over 1,400 years of existence, the Jiaozhou Bridge has become one of the most remarkable ancient stone bridges still standing in China. Built around 605 during the Sui dynasty, under the supervision of Li Chun, it is considered one of the oldest surviving stone bridges in China. The most incredible aspect is its very early open arch design, as the ancient builders did not use a single heavy, solid block of stone, but added 4 smaller arches to reduce the load and allow floodwaters to flow through. The main span is approximately 37 meters wide, but the curvature is only about 7.3 meters, creating a low, wide, and gentle arch for carriages, horses, and people to pass through. The entire bridge is constructed from 28 thin, curved limestone slabs, joined by fishtail-shaped iron pins, demonstrating the ancient people's ability to use geometry to make stone lighter. The strength of Zhaozhou lies in its ingenious water management through architecture, because instead of blocking floods with a solid block of stone, it allows water to flow through strategically calculated openings. 27. Lucao Bridge. Imagine walking across the Marco Polo Bridge at sunset, with ancient stones underfoot, stone lions on either side, and the air seemingly still echoing from 1937. Built between 1189 and 1192 during the Jin dynasty, the bridge spans the Yongding River southwest of Beijing and has stood for over 800 years. Approximately 267 meters long and 9.3 meters wide, with 11 stone arches. The Marco Polo Bridge appears as a low, sturdy granite strip stretching across the river. Its most famous feature is the hundreds of stone lions on the railings, many of the larger statues concealing smaller lions on their heads, backs, bellies, or legs. The West knows it as the Marco Polo Bridge, as the explorer Marco Polo once described it as a beautiful and rare stone bridge. For that reason, the Marco Polo Bridge is not only an ancient structure that stands amidst modern Beijing, but also a place where history, memory, and national symbols meet on every stone slab. 28. Liangzhu Archaeological Site. Known as the Emerald City hidden beneath mud and water, Liangzhu is where a civilization over 5,000 years old still shines from the depths of the earth. Existing from approximately 3,300 to 2,300 BC, it shows signs of an early regional state with a city, an elite class, and unifying rituals. Most incredible is that a Neolithic city knew how to control water on a large scale, using dams, canals, moats, and wetlands. This system not only prevented floods, but also managed rice cultivation, transportation, survival, and power in a society without a clear written language. The Liangzhu Heritage Site covers approximately 14.3 square kilometers, with a buffer zone of over 100 square kilometers, forming a complex archaeological landscape encompassing land, water, and rice paddies. The haunting power of Liangzhu lies not in its colossal stone structures, but in the foundations of palaces, hierarchical tombs, and ceremonial jade artifacts, silently buried beneath the mud. 29. Fan Mountain. Nestled amidst the mountains of Sichuan, Qingcheng Mountain emerges as a vast complex of Taoist temples, shrouded in the green of ancient trees, thin mist, and temple roofs hidden among the peaks. UNESCO recognizes that in 142 AD, Zhang Ling founded the Taoist sect here, making Qingcheng one of the most important cradles of Chinese Taoism. What's incredible about this place isn't its sheer scale, but the fact that a forested mountain has held a central role in religious thought, ritual, and identity for nearly 2,000 years. The name Qingcheng suggests a green city, perfectly suited to the landscape of forests, bamboo, ancient trees, and temples nestled within the dense greenery. Taoist temples flourished throughout various periods, particularly from the Jin and Tang dynasties onwards, making the entire mountain resemble a vibrant Taoist practice site rather than a single structure. The power of Fan lies in the feeling that the verdant forest has completely enveloped the architecture, where the curved tiled roofs, wooden gates, and stone steps only emerge in fragments amidst the trees, mist, and damp rocks. 30. Yaolu Kaiping. In rural Guangdong, towering structures, resembling fortress villas, have sprung up in the middle of fields. These defensive towers flourished from the late 19th to the early 20th centuries, as Kaiping residents left their hometowns to send money back or return to protect their families. Incredibly, a structure could serve as a residence, a watchtower, and a family fortress all in one place in the countryside. The upper floors allowed for distant observation, the sturdy walls provided protection against thieves, and the interior space remained sufficient for daily living. With around 1,800 towers still standing today, these ancient structures transform nostalgia for home into architecture, a place where money, technology, and imagery from the outside world return to protect the village, clan, and family. From cliffs carved into sacred sites, tombs concealing entire universes beneath the earth, to stone bridges and irrigation systems still functioning after millennia, each structure on this list poses the same question: what motivated ancient humans to push their limits and create seemingly impossible wonders? If you could choose one to see with your own eyes, which one would you choose? Leave a comment below if you're brave enough.